Everybody, welcome to the Get Wealth podcast. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today I'm here with David Meltzer. Not really sure how I pulled this one off, but he's the co-founder of Sports One Marketing and the former CEO of the renowned Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment Agency, which was the inspiration for the movie Jerry Maguire, which is pretty cool. Your life mission is to inspire and to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. Which is an incredible purpose. And I'm excited to hear about all the details of that. So thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you pulled it off because likes attract likes, and you're out there with a good purpose, a good cause to help other people. And that is what I look for. That's why I come on these shows, and I appreciate the opportunity to help people, to empower them simply to be healthy, wealthy, and happy.
Yeah, that's truly a cool thing. And I guess the first question I want to ask, because this is the Get Wealth podcast, and I know it's going to come full circle to that, empowering people to be happy. But how did you start creating wealth? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Well, it's been a transformational journey. Initially, I was born poor.
Hmm.
Single mom, 6 kids, worked 2 jobs, packed my dinner in a paper bag. And so it became a necessity to make money because the only time I wasn't happy was when there was financial stress or distress, not enough food, no summer camps, worried about going to college. And so I'd catch my mom crying over these financial stresses. And my mom working 2 jobs, doing everything she can, and also knowing how to manipulate Jewish guilt. I felt responsible for my mom. And therefore, I put into my mind that money buys love and happiness because it was the only thing that was missing in my life was money. So I set off to buy my mom a house and a car. And all my attention and all my intention went to the coincidence of making a lot of money. And fortunately and unfortunately, I made my first $1 million 9 months out of law school, and everything from there. When I say fortunately, it's a blessing because I bought my mom a house and a car. But the unfortunate part was that I had lessons to learn about money and the relationship to that energy, that currency, because I had lost my faith with all that money. I put my faith into the currency. And everything I did in my life reaffirmed money buys love and happiness until I finally realized it didn't. And that's when my transformation occurred.
Yeah, it almost seems like, I mean, there's this idea that money can cause or bring out the worst in people, or it can be bad in some sort of light. I heard a quote that was like, money just amplifies who somebody is. So if you're a good person, it's going to make you an even better person. And if you're not in the right place, it's going to go in that direction.
Yeah,
But
let me touch on that for a second because I don't think it's a matter of good or bad people because I was a good person. But what it is that money doesn't buy love or happiness. It allows you to shop. And good people shopping for the wrong things are going to be in a bad place. Bad people shopping for the right things would be in a better place, believe it or not. So I believe it's not money buys love or happiness. It's you need to pay attention what you're using your money for. And so if you're using it to buy things you don't need, different things you don't need, if you're buying it thinking it'll make you happy, if you're buying it to impress people, or even like I did, I bought things to impress people I didn't even like, you're going to be unhappy. But if you start utilizing that money, all that you receive, to give away to others, to build schools, to be the chancellor of Junior Achievement University, to build villages around the world, healthcare, all types of things that you can actually help people with, money's a fantastic way to buy love and happiness if you shop for the right things.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I didn't mean to make it sound like you were a
No, I
bad
just want
person.
to clarify.
Yeah, cool. Because yeah, as far as what you've done, as far as the amount of value that you give back on your platforms is exponential, and so I think it's just a good testament to show that money can just be that vehicle that allows you to bring happiness to other people. And then do things that make you happy in that sort of sense. So you mentioned 9 months out of law school, you made your first $1 million. How does that happen? Is it just pure nose down, working hard, or how do you get there?
It was math. So I always call it the power of 64, which is in my first book, Connected to Goodness, which I give away for free to everyone. By the way, I sign it, ship it, pay for shipping. So make sure you put in the notes, david@dmeltzer.com. So I give all that away. But the power of 64 said this, on average, people are productive at best 8 hours a day, activity that they get paid for. what if I could be productive 16 hours a day? And what if I could focus in on the efficiencies of the 16 hours so I could be twice as efficient in 16 hours of productivity, making it 32 hours of productivity? And then what if I could practice and be a professional at what I did to get better at it, statistically better at it? So if on average people had, 2 sales out of 10, because I was at a sales job in the internet, what if I could do 4 sales out of 10 by practicing? And that would make the 32 hours of productivity activity I got paid for into 64 hours of productivity a day. And what if I could, instead of identifying or defining my activity as work, just define it as activity I get paid for, and vacation every day, have activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for every day. So 7 days a week. So the way that I made $1 million, over $1 million, 9 months out of law school, was I implemented the power of 64 7 days a week, which was 8 days of productivity every day, 7 days a week, which is 56 days of productivity in 1 week. Compared to a 5 day person, that's over 11 weeks of productivity compared to what they were. So in 9 months, when I blew out my comp plan, which was $250,000 a year, and had over $1 million, everybody was giving me accolades and acknowledgement. And I was laughing at them behind my back going, I didn't even hit comp plan because I actually, what they call work. I actually had activity I got paid for over 11 years in those 9 months. I didn't even come close to what I was supposed to be able to do, but I beat people with math. And I teach people the same thing with my coaching, whether it's in group or a private setting. How do we get the most productivity, accessibility, and gratitude out of our time?
Mhm. That's such a good way of thinking about it, because if you break it down in that way, you really can have that, advantage over the other people who are, their mindset is keeping them at like half of what you're doing. So that's awesome. You're able to scale it, especially with sales. I think that's something that can be such a great tool, because if you can sell something, there's really no limit to the amount of things that you can sell. Like the ceiling is infinity. What tips would you give to somebody that's trying to sell? Do you have a blueprint that you like to use to sell things?
I have a ton, and once again, I'm happy to give them to people. One is the 5 to thrive part of what we do. When you break down a sale to 5 parts and then specifically focus on each part independently within the process of a sale. So the first part of a sale is called stimulating interest. And in order to stimulate interest, you got to learn how to ask. You got to know what question to ask, which is, do you know anybody that can help me? You need to know who you want to stimulate interest from, meaning for me, there are no gatekeepers. There's just sponsors and power sponsors, people that can help you, and then people that can actually make a decision and help find somebody else that can help you. But moreover, looking in the context of that, we want to stimulate interest by finding people with open minds. I used to spend so much time trying to find the lowest hanging fruit, trying to overcome gatekeepers' objections of closed minds, when it takes as much energy to change or to sell a closed mind than it does 1,000 people with an open mind. So I've learned to stimulate interest within the context of a variety of things, including just knowing that 80% of the people we reach out to don't get back to us. So the majority of your time, if you want to fill the top of your pipeline, the top of your funnel, is to be an expert at getting people to call you back, email you back, text you back, DM you back, whatever it would be. You need to be an expert at getting people to get back to you. Then you can transition interest, which is a matter of being able to articulate quantifiable value with collateral or follow-up material. Then you need to be able to share a vision, which is the ability to articulate quantitative value to exceed what you're asking for with credibility, emotional attachment, reasons, impacts, and capabilities. Then you got to create a go, no go plan to manage and develop that vision so that that person is empowered to sell internally and externally what you've sold them, so that your business, it thrives without any type of economic or resource necessary in order to effectuate that thrivation that occurs, that exponential viral nature of business when people are bragging about how good your product, service, or solution or you are. And so that 5-step process of stimulating interest, transitioning interest, sharing a vision, managing, developing a vision, and thriving are all the key elements in order to effectuate a step-by-step procedure with the exact documents, and all of those things I just give away to people to empower them to get what they want. Because the main key is, can you not only articulate the quantitative value greater than what you're asking for, but can you carry the energy that you're doing so as well, the credibility and emotional attachment to that quantified articulation.
Yeah, that sounds like such a tried and true process. Obviously, it's worked for you. I think for anybody listening, it's just a matter of putting it to work and practicing to get to the level where you can, do twice as much work as the next guy. So that's awesome. Thanks for that.
Keyword practice, by the way. I'm still practicing. I'm on my journey of getting better, pursuing my potential.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another thing that you always say is the what is it? The
Enjoying the consistent.
Yeah,
Persistent pursuit of your potential. That's my definition of happiness, is those people that can enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of their potential. Not somebody else's, not what's missing, not what they don't want, but their own potential of what they want, which is why you need to take inventory of what you want every day and not be afraid of being a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Another thing about your story is that there's been some setbacks along the way. I know Google says your net worth right now is 120 million, but there's been some bumps along the road there. What was one of the biggest setbacks for you, and what advice would you give to just powering through bumps in the road?
Yeah, so I've lost that in my life, and been blessed to be able to recuperate. But for me, it's just the actual three things that I have control of. Number one, I have control of my mindset. I find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. All that pain that I experienced in my journey is not a stop sign. It never was meant to stop me. It was simply a turn signal, an indicator that I have something to learn, a better place to be, a better position to be in, and a better situation to have. I don't see losing $100 million as some sort of mistake. I actually see it as an investment. I invested $100 million into myself and got all these lessons that have been able to create a foundation to do something with a greater purpose, and still to make a lot of money, to help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. So I don't see any sacrifices, any mistakes. I see lessons. Life's about lessons. They keep on coming until you learn them. Pain is the indicator that you have a lesson to learn. It's not going to go away till you learn it. It's not a stop sign. Remember, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Even when you lose everything, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You have everything you need. If you didn't have everything you need, you wouldn't be here. But once you realize that you're happy where you're at, but you're going to give everything you have with that enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential to get to where you think you want to be. But the key component that I learned in the second stage of my life was that faith came into play. That not only would I institute the law of Goya, get off my ass every day, give everything I have, but more importantly, I had faith that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I'd end up somewhere better than I thought I'd end up, not where somewhere worse. So even when you lose over $100 million, to have the faith that you're going to end up somewhere better than you are and were is an incredible thing that actually allows things to happen. See, the truth is, we already have our health. We already have infinite wealth. We already have infinite happiness. It's determining what is it that is interfering with what we already have. And that shift in the mindset. Secondly, I have control of my heart set about how I feel when things happen that I don't expect. And then, of course, understanding what it takes from the law of gravity to the law of Goya to the law of attraction, from the conscious, subconscious to the unconscious, and what I call the conscious continuum of data flow through the human system is absolutely a variable of what we do.
Yeah, that's incredible. So losing $100 million, that's like an unfathomable amount of money for most people in their entire life. I can't imagine what that feels like to be in a spot where you don't have it anymore. What did that teach you as far as being in that moment? Was there a specific lesson that you had a new perspective on money after that, or was it just more of a motivation to get it back?
Yeah, there's two things that happened. One was, when I first lost everything, not only did I have to tell Leigh Steinberg, the most notable sports agent in the world, who had hired me to be the Midas, to be the example to all the athletes, celebrities, and entertainers, that we weren't going to lose their money, that we were a legacy company here to not only make the money on the field, but to keep their money or grow it off the field. More importantly, even Leigh, who was gracious enough to be supportive of me as CEO of his company, losing everything. But the lesson I learned that resonates the most is I had to go tell my mom, the woman who my entire life, it was doctor, lawyer, or failure. She was a black belt in the martial art of Jewish guilt. I had to go tell her that not only I lost everything, but she had to move because I forgot to take her house out of my name. The reason I wanted to be rich was to buy my mom a house, and I lost it. And when I told her, I thought that she would crumble. I thought she would, blame me, yell at me, be distraught, who knows, even just break down. And when I told her, she didn't even flinch. She just looked me in the eyes and asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need any money? How can I be of service to you? What can I do for you and the kids, Dave? What can I do for you and Julie, my wife? What can I do for you?" And at that moment, I was inspired. At that moment, I realized, oh, yeah, God had blessed me with the ability to attract money into my life, my entire life, from 9 months out of law school till this very day. And I thought that day that my bottom had a basement, but no, it didn't. All it did, it had an enlightening lesson and investment. And that's when my paradigm shift that I'm going to live my life not to give, to receive. I'm not going to live my life in a scarce world of, being a victim of not having enough, or even being, in a scarce world of for me, where I was buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. But from that day on, I was going to live like my mom. I was going to give my life away. And the only difference is I was going to make sure that I receive so I can give. I was going to use my higher self, my potential of making money to help more people and have more fun with my life by giving my life away to others and allowing things not to be to me, not to be for me, but to be through me. And that was the greatest lesson of that investment of $100 million that other people say I lost.
Yeah. And that does sound like it's worth $100 million. I can't imagine a better wake up call coming from someone who's so close to you and just kind of telling you what you need to hear, is just being there for you. It really puts it into perspective that it's not money that's happiness. She was just looking out for what was best for you. And I'm sure that she instilled a lot of those values in you, which is why you were able to, make it back to where you are and then give back twice as much, coming full circle to the empowering over 1 billion people to be happy. Because that's really what it's about. And money can be a good vehicle to do that. So yeah, that's an incredible story. As far as the Get Wealth podcast, I always like to ask this last question before we head out of here. What's your definition of wealth? I know we kind of covered it, but if you could summarize your definition of wealth.
Yeah, well, my definition of wealth is the 4 values that we live with, which is, gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and for me, the true wealth is being able to clear the interference to what I already have. That health, wealth, and happiness is encompassed in my own wealth, and how well am I interfering or clearing that interference to what I already have. So for me, being wealthy is being clear and connected to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, all the abundance, living my life, at least even for an instant, between limitlessness and infinity, in the world of more than enough.
Yeah. All right, everybody. If there's anybody that really knows what wealth is, it's David Meltzer. So I really appreciate all your information. Like you said, you packed it full of value there. So I'm happy I have this on recording and I can look back on this when I need to. Just real quick, where can people find your social media, all that stuff, if they want to learn all things David Meltzer?
I appreciate that. I do free trainings every Friday. I have a clubhouse at 6 a.m. on Fridays, Pacific time, 11 a.m. I have a podcast called The Playbook. Download that at Top Pod Plus. All my trainings. If you want my exercises guides, my books are all free. Everything's free. If you just reach out, it's david@dmeltzer.com, at David Meltzer. I even have a text community, 949-298-2905. If you forgot all that or it's not in the notes and you didn't write it down, just Google my name, David Meltzer, and you'll find me.
Awesome. And I'll have all that in the description. So thanks for coming on the Get Wealth podcast, man. Get wealthy, everybody.
Get wealthy, stay wealthy. Thank you.